Now, I want to focus this conversation on Peter Gomez, whom I have taken time to listen to this morning, and of course took time to listen to his interview, with Attack the other day, even though I did not personally think, is a lot that we could, deal with in a more professional way. But people haven't talked about that issue, criticize you on the basis of your professional work, to say that if you have an interviewee and the person is actually making, generalizations that could actually upset or cause conflict, you as the interviewer, it's your responsibility to actually take some steps to address that. You don't allow your interviewee to go on a rampage ranting against an ethnicity. And if you do that, then you will be held responsible and accountable in a way or another. Not just the person saying it, but you, the interviewer, who could have, played that professional role to divert, the conversation to something else, or to probably say, no, halt it there. I don't think that's a good generalization. Let's look at things differently. It's a professional way of conducting interviews. I will not go to a radio and start talking about things that probably would cause anger and animosity in society, and the interviewer, being that professional, not able to control or curtail that conversation to something else, because it becomes your responsibility, to kind of act swiftly to control the interview. And that is why you don't allow your interviewee to control your interview as the interviewer. So if people come out to say, oh no, Peter could have done better, which I believe that Peter could have done better, even though, the interviewee could have said some things that might not, but allowing him to go on and on and on without stopping it, at a point, you, Peter, realized that what this guy was saying was wrong. Because why did you tell him not to mention names if you know that whatever he was saying was right? You could have let him mention names. Now, if you have the feeling that mentioning names was going to be a little more than expected, then you should already know that what he was saying cannot be something that you could allow to continue going on the radio. Money, I'm 100 digger. One thing about me, I don't care what you believe in, what you don't believe in. It doesn't matter the personality involved. And we're not scared of anybody. Peter was wrong. In a way, Peter has a responsibility in this. In a way, if something happened like that, he has a responsibility to say, you know what, try to control your interview. And failure to do that, and people coming out to tell you, hello, you could have done better. And then after solving this whole crisis, Peter came out today to actually call people monkeys? Really? Really, you have the audacity to come out this morning after solving this whole issue because you have been called out, you have been criticized for not being able to control that interview, that what came out of your radio was more or less, a generalization that affects an entire set of people in our society, that you could have in a way controlled, or in a way you are responsible for one thing or another, because one, it's your radio, second, you were the interviewer, and of course, third, you failed to control the interview, and of course, allow that person to go on a rampage to say whatever he wanted to say, to a point that you realized that what he was saying was a little bit too much. You did not even stop it, but you went on to tell him that, oh, don't mention names. Peter, you knew what this guy was saying was wrong, but probably that is what is in your heart, because you've just poured out your heart today. And then to tell people, that they are not even beneficial to the country, they are not beneficial to the people they seek to defend, golo regla, golo dumusa by egg. And then somebody would tell me that, oh, that is Wolof. He's just trying to, kind of give it in an idiomatic expression, or probably, whatever thing that you try to. Who does not understand Wolof? Let me tell you, money. Let me tell you, if tell me rubbish and I tell you golo rekla, and then you tell me, oh no, I don't refer to you as a golo. What does that mean? You refer to human beings as monkeys? That golo rekla. You can't again, Peter Gomez. Hey, Payini, Gambia, the time Mohammed, and we tell you the truth. Nobody is scared of anybody in this country. You don't get into certain kind of things, and more so an issue that has been put to rest, but because people called you out, you feel you are infallible, you are untouchable, you are that person who has that big ego that nobody can ever say, Peter Gomez, you could have done better. Who are you? Who are you? That nobody could say, no, Peter, as I interviewed you, you could have done better. Who are you? to actually call out anybody and everybody that said that, oh, Peter could have done better, to be people that really are hateful, they are not beneficial to society, and you came out on a big rampage insulting everybody, and you think you gain anything from it? Gambia, it is the same Peter Gomez that how do you call it, Sankare went to allege Usain Obojang of killing the cops. Amanda Walade, Kabirin Kiti Bonko, bring your interviews and all of those things to court. He went back and called back Sankare to go and criticize and castigate the same court that actually told him to bring, a copy of that recordings. Peter Gomez, by Mohla Wasinjago, Mukati Nyani Matari to Chakwe. Kapusha, Tabanya, Bling, Purirunko, Natafal, the Kajali Kusada in public space. But a lot of people have a lot of respect and love for you, but then probably it's got to stop now because you do not deserve it, because you cannot come out to say people who actually, in a way, I wouldn't even call it attack. Maybe other people attack you, but then other people genuinely raise concerns that you as an interviewer could have done, you as a veteran journalist could have known, but of course you did not do it. And then you have the audacity to take credit that ST and this particular person have reconciled. It was never about ST and attack. It was about a generalization on an entire ethnicity that you kind of repeated today to say they were claiming to be defending an ethnicity that they have no value for. And of course, a monkey is just a monkey. Who are you referring to as monkeys? Are you literally referring to people of that category people of the ethnicity that said you could have done better, who were angry about everything that happened, and then you kind of come back today to say, you know what, monkeys are just monkeys, they're useless? Ita fisiana jumalati Peter Gomez. Ita ulunya nyate jumalati Gambia Bangkoka. Hey, alanganyo koromanganyo bunya dukare. There are things that are very unnecessary. This case was put to rest, but because you harbored that anger that people called you out, you felt you are just infallible, you are untouchable. Ita mumoltemi alongo munya na manya na baloko pide mistake. Are you infallible? Are you God? That nobody would tell you that, Peter, you made a mistake? That you can come out and tell people that they are monkeys? And then look at it from our social settings. What do we associate monkeys to? Destruction, good for nothing. They're just destructive. And then you refer to a set of people in our society who criticize you for somebody insulting their ethnicity and then label them as useless people who have no benefit to their own ethnicity. And of course, they are just monkeys. That sulawulang musulawulang drone neta nene telefonyo la cellular. Ni kada madung ko iteko sulawulang musulawulang drone neta nene telefonyo la cellular. Do na fo ko no. It doesn't mean that you are a monkey. What are you trying to tell us? Fondol man hakilo sodo. Adola hakilo you wada multi. Alanga tilimbali abulano. When it nakala mo muna toge muna la yonga nyonga wako dara mo golla muna la golo du musa bayi ngana mo ko waxun na yo golonga la buga wa fofu no. I think this guy is overly overrated because at some point you get to a point that you can tell how much anger and animosity is feel in this person. But let's be honest here. Ning ayata na mulka fwete ko Peter Gomez, you could have done better, and other people kind of castigated you. How about the person who sat on your radio and kind of castigated, labeled, and characterized an entire ethnicity in the Gambia? Ning wayo fo man nika kunda be. Ite ko wal manya na kamfala but wali ya fwete nyami ngo nyemi mi foja man to nya fa man ti kuma fo min beti adanda ite you have a responsibility in it. Ite findi na ite ko kamfala sa wal dum ite sa kamfa ya wal si na man fo la radio to duma na je pour que kamfa data ngidal afoda jela to wala na mol findi ko moro nyimmin kana jama nyankela andu ibe sirine ba la la feka fa ko kana mol to fo wota be min fo kana kuyate no nyanda fa la ko moro da woto ngakudo jibe ka to itela professional training should have trained you in that line, which you failed to do. And then you come out today to castigate and further insult people, and then nobody should say it because they've, oh no, why Kirib Karabino is. These are the kind of things that we continue to ignore that would actually ignite our country because people feel so entitled that nobody should say anything to them. You know one thing about me? If you talk about other people, I still tell you the same thing. So if you talk about another whatever, I tell you the same thing. I don't pick and choose battles. It's not even a battle. It's about telling people the right thing and telling them the truth. Those are radio and talk, they accuse you all kind of lies. And even though you know that is not true, you did not do anything about it. The court asked you to bring interview, recordings. You dropped the interview recordings at the court, and you came back to invite Sankare to kind of castigate the court for inviting you people to come and testify or to bring those recordings. But then the court will not actually subpoena or actually charge you for contempt of court. Your entire radio, somebody sat there and then said something entirely to an entire ethnic group. And then the funny thing is, you see other people now, no, of course, I don't agree with people putting other people's parents in there. But the generalization on that ethnicity, did people fall from the sky? If you make a generalization on an entire ethnicity, who did you leave behind? Who did you leave behind? Including grandparents and everybody. That is a generational insult, a generational characterization, and a generational labeling. That is why you don't make those kind of hasty generalizations on a set of people on tribal, lines. Because and somebody did that, insulted you, insulted your parents, insulted your grandparents, and somebody would tell you, no, but don't talk about his mother, don't bring his mother into the equation, forgetting that that person's statement actually did not just stop at your own parents, but went on to your even ancestral. But then sometimes when people speak, they pour out their heart. It's something that is long harbored. It's not that because somebody insulted them and they came out to say, oh no, either you take credit that estining diatal or whatever, for estining attack la dia untola mun haji sun kandina boto. Molla mun haji sun kandina boto. But then you have the audacity to defend that, yes, kudos to West Coast Radio and of course something Dabo who actually facilitated that all of that. What is there to actually praise West Coast Radio for insulting people? Is that what you want to praise your radio for? Instead of coming out and take some responsibility in it and say something like this will never happen again, we would learn from it and move on. But then you came out to actually last out your dirty lining on people. Kind of again, matter on Tojakwe. Olera bande wanyamburu lentlalo barari. Ntinyani mbi wanyama chumala ulu respeto. Ajamanya ulu respeto kakawolo because ulu respeto is reciprocal. Mam de kapone karabanya kababling tumba kakaka kajakuma which one of we mjina fa matari into mundu namme nyanga tefri urajo kar entire ethnicity. On top of it, we mkati kwe kakaka what is the carte komatana and then you don't want anybody to tell you anything. Who are you? But because we don't intend to stay too long here, but the fact of the matter is that telling people that no, why it's not important you bring in people's parents. But then the person that said it, what did he leave behind? Again, to say that you're taking credit for those two people coming into terms. If the problem was merely those two people, why did you have to insult an entire ethnicity or characterize them in a negative light or accuse them of tribalism? But that is not even my point today. The whole point is, why would you, Peter, come out and insult an entire people simply because one or two were castigating you or holding you accountable? Are you infallible that nobody should tell you that, Peter, you could have and should have controlled that interview in a better way? As a veteran journalist that you are, you should have known better and, of course, act better, which you failed to do, either deliberate or whatever, but then you failed to do it. And then people will actually call you out for that. Why do you think you are better? Why do you think you are better that nobody should tell you anything, Peter Gomez? Yeah, I can. Hey, and then telling people that, they are useless and of course a monkey is just a monkey. You don't characterize or label people in that fashion because we know monkeys are totally and completely associated with destruction. Peter, who want to destroy? Who is destructive? Which people are you referring to as destructive breed of people? Are you better than those people? What have you done in the Gambia that other people did not do? By exploiting little people that come to work on your radio? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Or that you're contributing to national development? How? What have you done better in that country? Does that mean that if you do wrong, nobody will tell you? People are every day calling out Barrow and telling him things he could do better and things that he is not doing better. But of course, he is not doing what you are doing to come back to your radio and sit on your radio and castigate and insult people again. After everything has settled down, you can't again. Go. Near at radio, Malay Molning, Molbina telephone, Malalay, Yalam be moment. we will take it nice. But we will tell you what you've never heard. I don't belong to no whatever ethnic here and there. But the fact of the matter is that the common denominator here is the Gambia. And we cannot watch people destroy our country in this fashion. Because they have scores to settle and they don't know how to settle them. And they think that they could just say anything and castigate any kind of people. This is not nice. This is not nice. This is not who we are. And when you make mistakes, accept you are not, not that you are actually kind of untouchable or you are a master of everything, even in your own profession. This is where you made the mistake, in your own profession. How about things that you probably do not know? So if you can make mistakes in your own profession, learn from it, accept that, of course, this was a mistake. And every Gambian knew that was a mistake. And if you think it was not a mistake, but Attack has apologized for whatever he would have said. Your radio's responsibility was to give out a communique to say, because what Attack said was wrong and he apologized for it, but the medium in which he said it was my radio, I take some part of responsibility. And not just that, but because you were the interviewer, then you bear some responsibility in it. And then you deliberately want to put all that aside and come back to castigate and insult people. You know that I'm so disappointed in this Koto, man. If I know why. I'm not going to no wrong. But Gambian bed and the one thing about me, if I see a man write something that is not right, I tell you, hey, you coming for the Ntonyati. And if I see a different person say something that is not right, I will tell you, more coming for the Ntonyati. So what do Peter Gomez say me for Tonati? Kafo mole go, Sula Wula one another Santoselo Baila, Walla Monti, the Malo Sula Wula Multi. Ninkuma Sifal, Walla Nyana Bola Kupila Gomez Dagono, Antara Monare Tela Radio, a Manka Gomu, Kotena interview, for the former Besiring, Iba interview, more Ben, making those kind of very expensive generalizations that could actually set that country in flame. You deliberately did not put a halt to it, you let it flow just freely and openly like that, and people call you out that you could have done better. Even basic ethics of professional journalism would tell you, Peter, you could have done better. And you know that. I don't need to teach you that. I'm not a journalist, but basic journalistic, ethics would tell you that, Peter, you could have done better. You could have actually interjected and say, and actually redirect the interview to something else. Or to say, oh no, that generalization would not be fit enough to actually air on this TV. Let's get into something else. You could have avoided it. Or even whereas it is said, you could have come with a little statement to kind of say, of course, it's a live program, it's a but then allowing it to continue. Don't mention names. Bro, fana why? If an alanga tonya for Nunue, Nembe tonya fasa for the greater good of our country, but we cannot pick and choose. But it tells a lot about who we are and how we are as a people. We got to show love, man. All these animosities and harboring all this. They can be the first restaurant for you. Amalante, I look and Hamud, man. When I listened to this guy, first I did not even blame Attack. You see how I considered it? I actually considered that to be more or less, to be some delusions. Because such delusions exist. They blame people until they think that their own biological mothers are witches and wizards. They even blame their own family members, or maybe they are responsible for their failures. They are delusions that people go through. But when people are going through that, you help them, you don't disassociate with them, you don't castigate them, you don't insult them. So when I saw Attack did that, so what I they are just delusions. I don't even consider that to be a big thing.